You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Welcome to They Live by Film, a platform dedicated to bringing you film discussion and interviews from around the world. I am Adam Lundy, and I am joined as always by my co-hosts Chris Haskell and Zach Bryant.
Hello.
Hello, you two.
Greetings. How are we?
Man, a little sad.
Why is that?
Shame was the last movie I saw in this.
Oh,
oh yeah, same.
Otherwise, good. How are you, Zach?
I'm okay.
College football's back. Week 1.
Hey, we told you the right one to watch, didn't we?
You did. It was
yeah.
a good
game. You didn't get stuck watching fucking Marshall get demolished for half a game.
You know what? So we have an app over here called The Zone. And they have the rights to the college football at the moment. So that was the two games I had to choose between. And for some reason that the Bama FSU game, the stream was like delayed. It was like late starting. So it's like, fuck it, I'll just turn on the Georgia game while we're waiting to fix the other stream. And I was watching for like a whole 20 seconds, and then Gunnar Stockton just like ran 40 yards in for a score. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, why do these teams even play each other? Like, what are Marshall getting out of this?
Well,
national television. That's sadly all they're getting. Like they get, it all gets complicated, but yeah, they're going to get like more chances at boosters, and now that they're on a national stage, somebody else might see them, and that's sadly how you have to build a program.
Well, that's the thing. This is the first season I'm like really gonna like get invested in college football. I've never really followed it on like a week by week basis. I've always it's one of those things where it's kind of always an afterthought, like in the off season, kind of coming up to the draft, I'll watch like highlights of players and stuff. But I've never really followed it, and there's stuff that I don't really like get. Like, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all the different conferences and how the schedules work and how the playoff system works and how the whole top 25 thing works. Yeah. It seems like it's all bullshit from what I've understand. From what I'm understanding,
you saw Alabama ranked 8. You know it's bullshit. Like, none of this makes sense.
Like, from what I've understood, like if you're in a certain conference, like if you're in the fucking the Mountain SEC. West or the well, let's say the opposite. If you're in the fucking if you're in the Sun Belt, you can win 12 games and it won't matter shit. You're not going to the playoffs because you didn't play
real teams.
You didn't play real. But that's kind of weird to me because I come from, obviously, as you guys know, I'm a big soccer fan. So like the great thing about with the in soccer, they always have cups, so they're knockout, kind of like playoffs in a sense, for lack of a better term. But they're cups. They're not like the main league. But the magic of the cup is that the smallest team, if they get lucky on the day, they can beat the biggest team, progress. And sometimes, teams that are not the biggest ones end up winning the whole thing, or at least going very far. So that's kind of the magic of it. So I was kind of sad when I realized, and I realized this the hard way, because not to plug EA, but I was playing the college football game. And I decided to try and like build a small school.
Ball State.
No, I went with Colorado State. Go Rams.
Yep.
Colorado State in the Mountain West, and I was like, this is gonna be cool. And I went like 12-0, but I still lost to Boise in like the championship game, so I didn't get to go to the playoffs. I'm like, this is bullshit.
And in reality is, when you're playing that, because it's a little bit different, you would actually need to leave that conference to get a real bowl game. Like there's so little chance you're going to get a good bowl game there. So you got to leave.
Well, a lot of the Mountain West teams are leaving next year to join the Pac-12, right? From what I read.
The Pac-28 or whatever it is now. Yeah. I don't know how many are in the Pac now.
No,
it's Big 20. It's like Big 18 or whatever is the Big 10. Yeah. Pac-12, everybody left.
Yeah. Pac-12 is empty now. It's 2 teams, I think. But they're trying to address that a little bit. I mean, I know this is not a football podcast, but college football,
one day we will just have to go and make one.
Yeah, it'll be fun. College football is my favorite sport. I've been tracking it very closely for at least 10-12 years. I love it. I always cancel YouTube TV and then get it for the season, so I just got it and watched 3 or 4 games on Saturday. And it, I've been championing for some type of Premier League situation where you can get moved up and moved down based on your success in the different levels.
Mm.
Whatever it's called, relegated or whatever.
Yeah, relegation and
Okay.
promotion. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've been pushing for that to just my friends. I mean, not to anybody that matters, but I think that's how college football needs to work because it just doesn't make sense. Like you said, Alabama just shouldn't be playing Marshall. If they had 12 games against tough people, you would get a real sense for how these teams are, right?
I
I
suppose
think
a
your
good example
issue.
of that is Clemson, right? In the ACC. I know the ACC is not a terrible division or anything, but
We're a basketball division.
but they should be playing in the SEC
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's the weird thing though, because so, I mean, shit, man, this is like there's a tangent for everything. But ACC used to be really good. Like Florida State would dominate. Clemson was good. I mean, they
They
won.
won some championships, yeah, not too long ago.
Yeah, so ACC is like in this weird middle space where like they're just kind of in a down period, but they do
And,
have good teams there.
and you get good players out of the ACC.
Yes,
Like that
yeah,
you were not going to have like the problem with like that's so funny in the draft is like the worst thing you can do, or at least when Saban was running Alabama, was get their running back. Oh, he's the best running back in the country. Yeah, Saban just ran him for 4 years and now he's done.
exactly,
He's worthless.
exactly.
He's done. And then in the ACC, yeah, these guys may have only played 12, 15 games, but you already got to see what they can do, and they do well at it. It's why Drake May didn't have a ton of playing time in UNC, but he got drafted third quarterback in a very quarterback heavy draft because people saw what May can do, and we're going
Yeah,
to see how he does this year. But yeah, that's the weird thing about college, honestly. And we'll get off this because I know this. I know we've already like made 4 people like log off. I'm sure of listening to this. But Adam, if you really want to get into it, honestly, I think this is a good video that goes over a lot of it. It's a very hyper specific, but I think it goes into a lot of what kind of college football is and how it works. Is there's a 2.5 hour video called "The Death Penalty in Sports," and it's mostly about SMU, which is a famously the death penalty from the NCAA, and it goes over a lot of that of how like different aspects of college football work
yeah,
and
Okay.
like how sketchy it is and stuff like that. Because here's the reality: is before the NIL, everybody paid their players. SMU just wasn't secretive about it and got demolished for it for years.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'll try to remember to send you that video. But I think if you're trying to get into it, that's a great video just to kind of get your head around the weirdness of
That'd be
college
cool.
football.
So I was
Yeah.
trying to find something like that, like comprehensive kind of long form videos that I could watch. I started listening to like there's a podcast I started listening to a couple of weeks ago called The Solid Verbal. That seems to be like the biggest college football podcast, and that's been very entertaining. I've already learned a lot through that. And again, to kind of give props to EA, I guess I've learned a good bit from playing the college football 26 game.
Yeah.
yeah.
I've learned a little bit there as well. But yeah, let's get off this fucking tangent. I'm sorry for bringing it up. Jesus Christ.
This
Um,
happens every time sports gets brought up.
Exactly.
I'll go through my any other business if you'd like, because I have a couple of things I've
Sure.
watched.
Go for it.
I was off work for a couple of weeks back, and I said I'll try and catch up on a few Radiance stuff as I'm so far behind on everything Radiance. So I watched a couple of things that I was kind of most excited for, and unfortunately, I didn't have the greatest experiences with them. So, the first one I watched was a film called La Terra Trema, which is a Visconti film, which was my first
Yeah.
ever Visconti film.
Oh, okay.
Never
Okay.
seen any of them. But I liked the sound of this one because I'm really into the neo-realist stuff. As opposed to the kind of more opulent stuff that I know he's more known
Exactly.
for.
Yeah.
Like they obviously just released Senso last month, and
Yep.
obviously The Leopard is his most famous film. But La Terra Trema was interesting to me because again, I like neo-realist stuff. And it was okay. It was very long. Like it's 2.5 hours of neo-realism, which is just a bit too much for me. Um, yeah, it was good. It was well acted. It's obviously a very tragic kind of tale. It does engross you from that perspective that you do really care about the family struggles in the film, but it just went on. The misery was just too much. It was just too much misery, and there's no levity, and it's just 2.5 hours of misery, which was just a bit too much for me. Um. And then I watched two films from the World Noir 3? Yeah, World Noir 3 box set, which one of them I need to rewatch. So the first one that I watched was the Swedish one, which is called Girl with Hyacinths.
Okay.
And it's about this girl who commits suicide, and her neighbor, who's a writer, decides to kind of do a mini investigation to try and figure out why she did it. 'Cause she didn't leave a note or anything. He just wants to figure out why she did it, and we know it's not foul play. Like we it's pretty frank in its depiction of suicide, especially for a film from 1950, which I was actually a little bit surprised about. Um, and it kind of jumps back and forth between the current and flashbacks as he kind of interviews people that were in her life. They do flashbacks and kind of see and stuff. Um, and for the most part, it's very by the numbers. And like it got towards the end, and I was like, that was very basic. It wasn't really a mystery. There was no twist. And then, like in the last second, like literally, like the last like 10 seconds of the film, there's a twist that kind of recontextualizes the entire film, which I was like, what? Um, so I feel like I need to rewatch it because I need to know if it was telegraphed in any way or if it was just kind of a rug pull. I don't want to say what the twist is or anything like that, but it was a very kind of random out of left field twist that I'd be interested to know if it was actually telegraphed at all or if it was just kind of like a last minute rug pull. Um, but it was interesting. The other film from the set that I watched was not good. It was an absolute mess, and it's so weird because it's the one that was directed by and stars Peter Lorre. So I thought this would be just a gang, but this would be a winner. You know, it's Peter
Right.
Lorre, he's a legend. This film sucks. It's just a mess. It's just all over the place. The plot is nonsensical. It jumps around constantly. The pacing is terrible. It's just a bad movie.
Sounds like
Um,
I would like it.
I honestly no, I don't think you will. Like it doesn't jump around in like a fun way. It's just clear. It's just made by someone who I don't. I'm sorry, Peter Lorre. I just don't think you're a good director.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, it's really bad, and it ended up putting me off watching any more Radiance films. After that, so those are the three Radiance ones I've caught up with. To be honest with you, I'm kind of glad I'm not doing the Radiance podcast anymore because this year, for me personally has been a bit of a letdown. No, I obviously, like I said, I haven't watched everything that came out this year because I've been falling behind, but I can't think of, I'm just looking over at my shelf now, and there's like nothing there that's jumping out at me that I like loved. That's come out this year. I liked Je t'aime, the
Hmm.
fucking Alain René film, but like everything else, just kind of mid or sometimes bad. Which maybe this is just more about how high quality. Like last year's Radiance films releases were amazing. There were so many films I watched that Radiance put out last year that just blew my mind about how good they were. So maybe my expectations were too high going into this year, but I've been pretty disappointed. But again, I'm far behind, so I'm not just gonna write off the whole year because obviously not finished it and I haven't watched everything, but a little bit disappointed. From there, I watched a couple of films that are sort of semi-thematically, well, semi kind of t connected. One was just a random film that me and Neve came across that we decided to watch. It's an old film. It's from 1959. It's called Suddenly Last Summer. Any of you guys seen it? It's Elizabeth Taylor,
I
Montgomery
have
Clift,
not.
Katharine
What's the
Hepburn.
name again?
Suddenly Last Summer.
No.
So it's a really interesting film. So Montgomery Clift plays a neurosurgeon, and Katharine Hepburn is trying to convince him to do a lobotomy on her niece because apparently she's crazy and spreading all kinds of terrible rumors and she's a psychopath and blah 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 blah. And she's Katharine Hepburn, who's fantastic in this film. She's basically trying to say that she'll finance all this new big hospital that they're trying to get built if he agrees to do a lobotomy on Elizabeth Taylor. And Montgomery Clift was like, well, I'm not just gonna fucking lobotomize her. Let me go talk to this girl and see what's wrong with her. I'll actually try and help her first before I go fuck with her brain. Um, And Elizabeth Taylor is fantastic in it as well. I don't think I'd seen Elizabeth Taylor in anything. To be honest with you, and I said to Sneevil we were watching, I was like, geez, I just assumed that Elizabeth Taylor was just like a sex symbol, but she could fucking act. She's great. Um, she's brilliant in this film. The three leads really are really, really good. Like I said, Montgomery Clift, Katharine Hepburn, Elizabeth Taylor, they're all fantastic. And it's an incredible film. The script is just amazing. The reason why it's connected to the next film that I watched, it was written by Tennessee Williams, and it's very obvious. It's the dialogue is just amazing. The script is fantastic in this film. It's actually one of the best films I've seen in a long time. Um, in terms of like first time watches. It's on the Criterion channel at the moment. That's where we came across it. We were just stumbling through looking for something to watch one night last week or the week before. And we just thought that this sounded interesting. So I'd recommend it if you're looking for something to watch. It's really, really good. And then because we watched that, we were like, well, neither of us have seen Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, so we'll watch Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Because again, it's Elizabeth Taylor with Paul Newman as Brick.
Yeah.
I read Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. I read the play a few years ago as part of a college course, and I love the play. So I was a little bit disappointed in the film because it does kind of skirt around. Like the play is much more overt in its kind of depiction of kind of closeted homosexuality and stuff like that. The play is very on the nose with this stuff, whereas the film definitely skirts around it and tries to kind of stay away from it as much as it can without losing what the what the whole fucking point is. So look, great performances. It looked really nice. It was made by a guy called Richard
Brooks,
who I don't think I've seen anything else by. There's a couple of stuff that I recognize the name of, but I've never actually seen. The last film, by the way, sorry, just to mention it, was by Joseph Mankiewicz.
heavy hitters here.
So yeah, Joseph Mankiewicz, all about Eve and guys and dolls and that kind of stuff. But yeah, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Performances were good again. Elizabeth Taylor was fantastic. Just kind of recontextualize her because, like I said, I just assumed she was just like a sex symbol. I never realized she was actually really talented, and that's on me. But now I know better, thankfully. And then the last thing I saw that's not related to what we're going to talk about today was last night. Sat down and watched I Know What You Did Last Summer, 2025. So the Legacy sequel, because it is not a remake, it's not a reboot. It's a Legacy sequel, so kind of like Scream 5 and Halloween 2018 and those. I don't know if there's any other Legacy sequels out recently. There probably is. But it's in a similar vein to that. It's a new, fun, young cast, led by a bunch of people that I don't know. Well, I know I had heard of Madeline Klein because Neve watches a show called Outer Banks that's very popular with the kids. And Madeline Klein's one of the main characters in that. But the rest of the cast, I didn't know who they were. Jennifer Love Hewitt's back. Freddie Prinze Jr. is back. They're kind of like the legacy characters there to kind of guide the new it's basically Scream 5, with the way they did it with the new young characters being led kind of by the legacy ones. Unlike Scream 5, this film's not particularly good. It's almost aggressively mid. It's very tonally inconsistent. And the twist is just dumb as hell. And actually it actively annoyed me. I went to bed last night annoyed. I was like, that's annoying. That's an annoying way to kind of end this movie. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I know, Zach, you said you hadn't seen it. I'm surprised you hadn't seen it. I literally, as soon as I finished, I'm like, I gotta know what Zach thinks of this movie. And I went on to
it's funny.
Letterboxd and I didn't see a review, and I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, what's funny is I actually own the popcorn bucket for this movie because they were just trying to get rid of them at my local theater, and they're like a tackle box, so they close, and it's way easier to take popcorn home, and it was the same price as a large, and I was like, sure. So I own the popcorn bucket for it, but no, I haven't got a chance to see it yet, unfortunately.
Amazing.
I'm just delighted that I've seen a 2025 film that Zach has not.
Yeah,
You
I
were
was about to say.
correct.
There you go.
I was before we move on, I just want to say two quick things. So, if you really want to see a different performance from Elizabeth Taylor, check out Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Um, that
Yeah, it's
shows.
on. We added it. Me and Eve have a kind of shared watch list
Mhm.
for stuff that we would watch together, and that's on there. It's just about. It's like over 2 hours, so it's like fuck. It's trying to find time for us both to sit down and watch that. It's
Very
tricky.
true. Just stop having kids, man.
Yeah, that's a fucking great. That's a great note.
But it's an interesting movie and a very different performance for her. And then this is like standard, but Cleopatra, she's actually pretty great in it as far as like her screen presence. But then the other thing I was thinking of when you were talking, so Richard Brooks, it has an interesting career. He was the director for Looking for Mr. Goodbar, which was a Vinegar Syndrome release this year, 1977 movie. And man, that movie has some intense sexuality in it, and just a very, very good movie, with an insane ending, um, that I think people are starting to discover, which is good. But the only other thing he really, well, I mean, I don't know this for sure, but his other big thing was that Truman Capote, in Cold Blood, he did a version of that. But he seems to be around like for Hollywood, he seems to be a pretty transgressive guy, like around homosexuality and more extreme stuff. Like he seems to be comfortable with that. So, anyways, that's just kind of I happened to just learned a little bit about him because I just watched that Good Bar thing. Otherwise, I'd never even heard of him.
Interesting. Chris, you
Um,
want to go next? Because I know Zach has a bombshell that he's waiting to drop.
I
It's the only
know
reason I'm here.
we got exactly. I was about to say that. The only reason we all showed up. I'll be quick. If you haven't seen The Hit from Stephen Frears from
Banger
19,
movie.
oh my God, Terrence Stamp. Like I've seen him in a few things. I know he's cool, but this is an all-time cool performance. He's this kind of like he's this mafiosa, this thug who rats out his associates in exchange for leniency in the courts, and eventually it catches up to him. And this is all about the car ride where he gets captured. It's the car ride where he's going to go and they're going to kill him, and he knows that. And just the crazy things happen on this road trip, but it's just he is so effortlessly cool. I love him in this movie so much. And John Hurt is great as the guy who's hired to do the hit, and then Tim Roth shows why
Young
he's
Tim
Tim Roth.
Roth. Yeah,
Very young, yeah.
it's so good in this. R.I.P. Chancellor Valorum from Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Okay, yes, sure. R.I.P. that guy.
That's Terrence Stamp's character from Star Wars.
Oh, damn it. Okay. Forgot
R.I.P.
Um, just wow, what a movie. There's a really interesting. So Larry Fessenden is a director who's been making horror movies on low budgets in New York for a long time. He has a production studio named Glass Eye Pix. He's most famous for kind of being the mentor for Ty West, who's now Ty West. But there's other movies that are a part of this kind of collective or group. There's another director who's been working behind the scenes for a while named Graham Resnick. I looked it up. No relation to Nine Inch Nails, unfortunately. Um, but he made a movie in 2008 that just got a release on one of the partner labels. So this Glass Eye Pix is now a partner label for Vinegar Syndrome. And he made a movie in 2008, which is like a surrealist horror movie. Um, very, very cool. I really recommend it. It's so tempting to call every surrealist horror movie a David Lynch movie. I don't think that's necessarily fair to Lynch or this, but think in that general direction, right? Just that kind of general area. Um, Also, finally, we got to discuss The Swimmer on the film club, on the Reddit film club. And have either one of y'all seen The Swimmer?
I
No, what did I
own
put out? Oh,
I
go
owned the
ahead.
limited edition from Indicator. I bought it years ago because it was on sale on Amazon and I still haven't opened it. And it's like the
Okay,
nice thick limited editions
sure.
that Indicator do, and I still haven't watched it. And it
That's a
sounds like right up my alley. I don't know why I haven't watched it.
Grindhouse put that out too, right? Like, is that the same one?
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
There's been even from the DVDs days, there's been this like special 3 disc edition of this movie that's been repurposed every few years. Um, Hell of a movie though. Like it's just basically what I said was I was oh we have somebody on our we have somebody in our discussion group who always is accusing me of being pretentious and doesn't like pretentious things. So my first sentence of my review for this was a novelistic deconstruction of the American suburban dream and an open polemic on the mores and values of high society. But that was kind of I wrote it that way intentionally.
All
But
right, Jesus Christ, fucking
that
Tennessee Williams, calm down.
exactly. But that also is what it's about. I mean, this is truly like I think my interpretation of this is like it's very much somebody looking at the American suburbs, which were, established by the mid 60s and was like, nah, and sort of made this as a critique. But really, really cool movie. I'll just do 2 more. I'll start with the rough one and then end with a really sweet one. So there's another partner label, Vinegar Syndrome, and they're putting out Swedish exploitation movies. And the first one from them is called Anita, the Swedish Nymphette. And so uncomfortable watching this movie because luckily the female actor playing this is in her early 20s, which is good. Although she looks young. And it's a movie about a 17-year-old who's a nymphomaniac. And the only interesting honestly, like I was just uncomfortable the whole time watching it, even though I mean luckily the actress is of age or whatever. But the whole point of it is that for women that can't orgasm, they become nymphomaniacs in like an attempt to try. And it's done as this like the style of it is there's like a reporter for her school that's trying to help her figure this out and doing research and supporting her. And it's just a pure exploitation movie, or in this case, sexploitation movie, I guess. I don't know. To be honest, like as much as I know y'all give me shit for just watching porn a lot, I don't like movies where I feel like there's nothing else really going on except for just trying to be provocative with sex. And I kind of feel like this one fits into that category. I didn't really like it a ton. I might even sell my copy just because I can't imagine going back to it. But it does have Christina. Wait, why am I forgetting her name? Lundberg, is that right? From Thriller, A Cruel Picture.
Yes, I believe so.
Lindbergh. Thriller, Cruel Picture, Christina. What is it? Lindbergh. And yeah, Lindbergh, Christina Lindbergh. It has her in the same year that she made Thriller, so that she was getting a lot of attention that year, I guess. Last one is a very sweet and interesting movie from Connie, which is one of my favorite partner labels from Vinegar Syndrome. They focus a lot on movies that are underseen from Asia and mostly Philippines and maybe Hong Kong, but all over Asia. Shari is and Japan. So the Shari is a Japanese movie. It's a documentary, but it's one of these documentaries where they really bring in a lot of creativity in the way they tell the story. So it's just about an area called Shari. But there's this character that is kind of runs throughout the documentary that could be like a Wendigo type or like a what's the common word, Bigfoot type, or like some kind of mythical creature running in the woods in the forest. And it's just someone from the community. That's not really like a spoiler, but you find out pretty early on. But then it goes into this town and everything, and it's a visually striking movie, and it's an interesting story about this like remote part of Japan. So I actually really, really liked Shari a lot. And I would Shari. And I would recommend anybody go check it out. But I don't hopefully you could stream it somewhere if you want to try before you buy. But it's very much an artistic piece of art, like a piece of art first that is also a documentary. It's told in that style. So There's a bunch more. I rewatched Jet Li's The Legend, but that's awesome. Everybody knows that. If you haven't seen it, go see it. And oh, have we recorded since I saw Superman? We did, right?
Since you saw Superman, no, I don't think so.
I watched it about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no, definitely
Man,
not then.
I just really love that movie.
Right. Well, I guess I better go watch Superman before we next record so I can give the medium opinion considering Zach hates it. So,
I
I gave it a 5 out of 10. I wouldn't say that's hate.
no, that's fair. That's mid. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Zach,
Okay.
I like maybe this is like I don't know if this is gonna sound weird. I don't know if it's like a generational thing. Like that, the heart and like cheesiness in that movie is what I grew up with and like what I miss in superheroes. Like I just want a, like a superhero that's not conflicted, is just straight on his mission, believes in a common good, like believes that there's evil and it's his job to like take out evil, even though people are kind of like pushing him to, take it easy on himself or whatever. Like everything in that movie just hit like such a sweet spot for me. It's like I will I will always be a huge champion of that movie. Like some of the humor is kind of corny and all that stuff. Like it's I mean it's very much a big budget, but
This
God,
actually this actually be a good one for me to watch because the problem I sitting here knowing you two is that Chris, you're a James Gunn glazer and Zach is a Zack Snyder glazer. So like we need a medium opinion from someone who doesn't glaze either. So I think that'll probably be the best thing for me to do. I'll go watch it before we next record so I can
please.
give you the unadulterated opinion from someone who has no skin in the game either way.
Yeah, please. I just feel like it's a Rorschach test for how cynical you are as a human being.
You see, I feel the
That is an
complete
insane
opposite.
statement.
So let me, I guess I can get on my horse. Like, there's a lot of things in the movie I think it does well. I just think it undermines literally every good decision it has, like 30 seconds later. It does that a lot, like Marvel movies do, like at least later scale Marvel movies do, where it's like probably one of the most annoying things to me in the film. There's really two that really got to me. One, well, three. One, I don't think him and the girl who plays Lois Lane have absolutely no chemistry together. Like none. Like their relationship mattered like zero to me.
Okay.
Um, the other part was they kind of just tell you like there's that scene at the end, which I'm gonna try to do that spoiling where he just talks to Lex Luthor about like what I guess the point of the film
But,
was, and that
but
just
by
like really annoyed me a lot.
by far worst part of the movie. Like the dialogue in this movie is not the highlight for sure.
And I really hated how they depicted the Kent family. Like really hated it.
Yeah, you know what? I can't defend that. It was very much an archetype in a weird and probably like kind of offensive way. Like I could see that.
Yeah, and I mean like, that's not to say there. I think Nicholas Hoult is fantastic in the movie. I jokingly said, and I kind of feel this way still after thinking about it, that it really should have been a Guy Gardner movie fighting Lex Luthor, where in the background Superman's there really doing everything, but he's taking all the credit for it. I think that is the most James Gunn type of film I can think of, and I think it would have been perfect.
Uh, no, I can't say anything to your critiques. I just think those are all ancillary things to the point of the film, which is that like we're in a tough spot in the world and we need someone to just stand up and be like, what's going on is just wrong. And like that's it. It's not complicated. Like it's just wrong. And I think it's sort of a protest movie in a way that I think is done with a lot of heart. So that's why I liked it and resonated so much. It wasn't even about the movie itself so much, if that makes sense.
I guess I could see that, but like for me, I didn't even go in like really thinking about like the real world element of it because when I watch a film, I just 99% of the time do not give a shit about that. I don't care about James Gunn's opinions on the real world. I like his movies. I watch his movies to watch his movies. I don't care what he thinks about the real world. It does not matter to me.
Yeah. Yeah, then we're just coming at it from two different sides.
Yeah.
I mostly like a movie of whether or not I feel moved by it and or like got something out of it. And this one did it for me in a big way.
Yeah, and I mean, I try not to. I'm sitting here hating on it, but I've tried to be mostly silent about it because I know I'm in the like the vast minority here. I've seen how many people like this movie, and I understand why people like this movie. I
Honestly,
saw it
like,
twice, and I could not get into it either time.
You being
yeah,
a contrarian? Never.
I never.
I well, I've heard some people really hate it though. Like I mean, maybe I guess you're right. The majority of people do like it, I guess, in the film discussion boards and stuff. But the people that hate it seem to really hate it and don't like what he's doing with Superman's character and all that kind of stuff. So I don't, I don't have a comic background, so I guess I don't have an opinion on that. Um, but anyways, yeah, Adam, I'd be fascinated to see what you think.
Sure. I'll watch it and tell you next time.
Awesome.
Zach, put me out of my misery, man.
All right, well, I guess we'll go in order because I actually don't have that much. I got to get to my list
Are
real
you gonna do
quick.
399 movies really quick and then get to
Oh yeah, just do everything from the beginning of the year up to the 400 blows. No, but I've actually at the end of the month I actually haven't watched as much as I normally do. I'm at 409 for the year, and three of those were today. So since I told you I watched 400 blows, I've only seen like six movies before today. So
the?
I haven't watched a lot. I've really mostly been playing some games. I played Mafia. They did a remake of that, so I played it to play the new game eventually. And then I got into watching. I showed my girlfriend The Godfather Part Two because she had never seen it. I watched The Godfather Part Three, and then I've been playing the Godfather game again. I had to pull out my PS3 for that thing. Um, and let's see. And then me and my girlfriend have been watching The Sopranos. So really, movies have taken a little bit of a backseat while I go through like this Italian mafia fixation for a little bit. Um, so beyond that, I got to see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre in theaters. Perfect film, no notes. Let's see. I really haven't watched anything that's that interesting. I went to the theater to see Primitive War, which is a dinosaur movie during the Vietnam War. You get what you
What?
pay for. It's a lot of fun. So it's
Can
dudes
you
shooting
elaborate?
dinosaurs to
Okay.
CCR.
I was gonna ask you to elaborate. That's all the elaboration I need.
Yep.
Thank you. And adding to my watch list now.
Yeah. I had a great time. It was just a 2 night thing in theaters. I was really glad I got to go. Then me and my girlfriend, I think a couple days later, went back to the theater because she wanted to watch K-pop Demon Hunters in the sing-along edition at the theater. She didn't. The only thing she sung along to was the beginning Netflix sound. So yeah, I mean, wasn't much of a sing-along, but I had a good time. I'd already seen it on Netflix, so
That,
um,
that movie is so popular. Is it fun?
yeah, I mean, I'm not somebody who's like I have a problem with a lot of anime that does like weird facial expressions. It's just like I definitely have like a Western animation bias towards like more realistic faces. Um, so that can bother me sometimes, but it's a movie that you can tell was made by Koreans for Americans. So it hits a lot of more American sensibilities and that sort of thing, and they got like every Korean actor they could that I guess Bong Joon-ho wasn't using at the time, for whatever he's doing.
Okay.
And let's see, I watched Red Sonja, which I did not get to see in theaters because for some reason they did a single show of the new Red Sonja on a Wednesday night in like 30 theaters or something. It was really dumb.
Oh,
So
weird.
yeah, so I didn't get to go see that, but I got to see it at home. Had a really great time with that. I definitely think it's better than the 85 version. I really think they should just let MJ Bassett do all the Robert E. Howard stuff because they also did Solomon Kane, which is phenomenal. And this isn't as strong as Solomon Kane, but it's really well shot. Like you look at the trailer and you're thinking, oh, this just looks like 2000s direct to video action slock. And that's not to say none of that's in there, but it's actually like very competently made. It's very well paced. It does the best it can with the budget it has as far as like effects go. And action is a little bit more theatrical and things like that. So I highly recommend it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I sadly don't think a lot of people are going to see it. And let's see, I watched. I'm going to skip 400 Blows for you, Adam. Uh, and then last night I watched Territory, which is like a Tubi movie that like 80 people have seen, where essentially it's like this almost Lovecraftian type film that takes place in the woods, where this husband is out looking for his wife who felt the need to go to this like abandoned park and just weird stuff starts to happen. It's incredibly well shot. There's some like legitimately creepy things in the film. I was very impressed because I mean, there's not many people have seen it obviously because it's just on it was just thrown on Tubi. Um, but something I was very impressed with. It's the kind of thing that reminds me of like early day Netflix back before they got like became like the biggest thing on the planet, where you would just like find a random horror film that no one had heard about, throw it on, and it actually ended up being pretty decent. Um, and with that, I also today started doing it's September, so starting to do horror films. I watched the live action Scooby Doo, fantastic movie. No notes. Um, yeah, they
Banger,
just need to do a third one.
certified.
Yes, yes, fantastic.
The only
And
James Gunn movie I can get. Wait, did James Gunn do that one, or did
he
he do a
wrote it.
second
Yeah,
one?
he wrote it.
He wrote it. I'll get behind that.
Yeah, I think I think it was rewritten from my understanding. Like it was originally his script was going to be more adult, like it was going to be in a film for adults, and they ended up restructuring it and like rewriting some of it so it could actually be a PG film. That's why there's like so many random ass references to weed, and they never directly talk about weed. Like,
This would also explain Sexy Velma and Scooby Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed,
yeah, yeah. So it there,
because
and
James Gunn
she
got
was
to
supposed to
take
be
over.
yeah, and she was supposed to be a lesbian in the first one, and they ended up not going through with that because they wanted it to be a kids film. So yeah, it was there's definitely a lot of gunnisms in it though. It's definitely something you like. There's a whole rant about how like Daphne wears purple and that's a fall color and it's the middle of the May. And I'm like, yeah, that seems like a very James Gunn type of joke here. Like where this voodoo guy is just complaining about her wardrobe. So I was like, yeah, that's stuff still in there. And that's a great line.
Mhm.
So with that, I will end up on the 400 blows since Adam has been wanting me to watch this, and I decided to watch it for my 400th movie of the year.
Let's do it.
And since I famously hate French New Wave, since I was informed, I think by Adam as well, that Melville is not French New Wave, so I can't
Mhm.
claim him as the one I like. What is the deal with that? So he just like he's a French guy who made movies at the same time, but he's not like in the wave sort of thing.
Yeah, basically, he's just like, kind of like, I suppose if I was to compare it to like New Hollywood in the 70s, Melville was just kind of like Spielberg. He was just making like big picture movies.
Right. Okay.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
Melville was just a normal dude making fucking good action movies, not one of these weird artsy guys. He was a bit older. Like, he just wasn't in the same generation.
He's like, I don't know what these young guys are doing with these boring
Yeah,
ass movies.
essentially. Pretty much, yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
back in my day, we put action in our films. So watch 400 Blows, and I definitely see why you wanted me to watch this one. This definitely goes more into like what I do as far as a career goes, where you're talking about troubled youth, and I think that did help quite a bit. I do find this one compared to a lot of the other French New Wave we've watched on here, this to be a lot more grounded. It doesn't feel quite as pretentious. It feels like it was made by someone who actually has experienced things in their life. So that was nice.
Well, yeah,
That was real.
it's based on Truffaut's life. It's this character, the lead character, Antoine Donnell,
Mhm.
is a recurring character he would become a recurring character who's basically Truffaut's stand-in as himself, basically. So you're definitely right on the money there.
Yeah, and I think that helped a lot. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say this film moved the needle, and I get French New Wave because I don't, but I will say this one didn't make me roll my eyes, and I was into it a decent amount. Like,
I see that as an absolute win. I
yeah,
wasn't I wasn't in it to get you to change your whole mind about and recontextualize French New Wave. I just wanted to find a film that is one of the poster childs of the French New Wave that you might not hate. So I
Yeah.
take that as an absolute win.
yeah, and I mean I'd be right there. I wouldn't put this in my. It's not like since we're gonna be talking about Bergman here in a minute. It's not like when you recommended me Virgin Spring, and I immediately put that in like my top 100 because I think that movie's fantastic.
Yeah.
That to me is. I guess the difference we'll get with that when we talk about Bergman. That Bergman's kind of just good at being accessible and art house, where I think Godard at least is not that to me. At least not to me.
Yeah. 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 No,
But
I mean, Godard was actively trying to not be in a way, right? So
Yeah,
that's
that's not a hot take.
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So don't feel too bad about that.
Yeah,
Godard famously didn't want people. That's why he got so. That's why his career, like his films, just get crazier and more obscure and pretentious and dense as they go along, because he's kind of pissed off that people were actually enjoying his movies.
exactly.
God forbid.
God forbid, I know.
They will.
Yeah, the only one from him that I would actually give a chance to after the three we watched is it's really just the cover, and I'm just feel like I'm gonna watch and be so disappointed is Alphaville.
I fucking hate Alphaville.
I
That
like
tells
it a
me
lot.
everything I need
Chris
to know.
likes it though.
I
Yeah.
like it a lot. I don't think you'll like it.
So it has this cool ass poster, and then it's not the poster. That's fucking terrible.
Like
No,
basically,
what is this
Zach,
shit?
the ones that I think that you would like, we've already watched them. So that
Oh, shit.
there's honestly no
Nothing
point.
left.
There's really no point. I'm just gonna be. Wait, have we watched Breathless?
No.
No, we did not.
You know what, Breathless. That's like your last stand. That's like your last chance. Because Breathless is like as basic as it gets. Really, it's not really pretentious. It has a few editing quirks, but
I like editing quirks. I like editing, but yeah.
I, yeah,
yeah,
I think
Breathless, I guess.
if we're looking backwards, like if we're taking the timeline backwards, saying he gets less accessible as he gets older, then this is the most accessible that Godard is, right? If you
Yeah.
think of
Oh,
it that
for
way.
sure. For sure. It's basically true romance if you want to put it through that. It's essentially true romance if you like true romance.
So is it like one of those things if I like Badlands from Malik, I might have a chance here?
Yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
Okay, I like Badlands from
I
Malik.
think I
Okay.
think so. I think that's a pretty apt uh comparison.
I was just trying to think of a sort of inaccessible director now, at
yeah,
least in comparison, who started out like more likable.
Yeah.
Like
I see,
not
I
more
see.
likable. I have no problem with
Likeable.
Malik. Yeah, I'm not gonna say that about Malik, but like more accessible, I guess would
Yeah.
be the
No,
word. Yeah.
I would agree with that. Like Breath
Yeah.
again, I'm not gonna sit here and recommend you watch fucking Breathless, but if it ever comes across, if you ever are stuck at like a mystery matinee and Breathless shows up, maybe just sit through it, I guess. Don't
Yeah, like well, like I don't just see Godard and be like, well, it was fun. Thanks for taking my $10, motherfucker.
Right, we'll get into the actual movies we're here to talk about. I suppose we'll kind of cover these chronologically. Let me just pull up
Oh, good call. I think that's the way to do it. Yeah.
these. So just a kind of reminder for anyone who missed the end of the last episode. Um, Essentially, well, I suppose to give context for anyone who might have missed it. This is going to be my second last episode recording for the foreseeable future because me and my wife are welcoming another child, so I'm going to be super busy. So just as kind of like a send off to me, I guess. I just decided to pick three films by my three, well, one film each by my three favorite directors that we haven't covered. Some of them were easier to choose than others because, for some, we'd already covered my favorite ones. So, like the first one, for example, not my favorite film by this director, but one of my favorite films by this director, but we'd already covered my two favorite ones. So, I kind of had to pivot to something else. So, we're going to start with Alfred Hitchcock, who's my favorite director, as I've kind of said a million times before. And we're going to cover a film he made in 1951. One that I think kind of goes a little bit under the radar, and I think it's because there's obviously some kind of rights issues with it because it's really like hard to watch it. It
Right.
seems.
It is, yeah.
It's never included in any of like the big box sets or anything like that. It doesn't seem to be streaming in many places.
I think I
so-
watched it on YouTube. Did I watch it?
It's
No, I
on
watched it on Tubi. That's
Tubi,
what I
yeah.
watched.
Yeah, thank God for Tubi.
Yeah, it's not streaming anywhere like over here or anything. So I had to sail the high seas to watch it. So it's a bit of an interesting one that it seems to be kind of stuck in some kind of rights hell by the looks of things. But anyway, yeah. So it's 1951. It's strangers on a train. To give the kind of brief synopsis from Letterboxd. So having met on a train, a smooth-talking psychotic socialite shares his theory on how two complete strangers can get away with murder to an amateur tennis player. A theory he plans to test out. A bit of a weirdly written description. So to kind of give the nuts and bolts of it, really. So Farley Granger is the main character. He's this kind of amateur tennis player who has ambitions to go into politics. He's currently seeing the daughter of a senator, I think he is.
Yeah. Yeah, either senator or
Seeing,
governor.
Yeah, see, yeah, he's romantically associated with the daughter of a senator or governor, and he's that's going to help him get a leg up. But unfortunately, his wife back home in a small hick town won't give him his divorce, despite her
That
being
bitch.
pregnant by another man. Um, so he's obviously in a very frustrating position because he just wants to get divorced so he can kind of get on with his life, basically. He meets this very interesting character called Bruno on a train who, as the plot describes, kind of talks about this idea of doing someone else's murder for them, the way that nobody could connect them to the other person. It would just seem to be completely random. Farley Granger's like, "You're a fucking weirdo. Get the fuck away from me. Never contact me again." Blah, blah, blah. Like any normal, rational human being would do. Um, but Bruno has other plans and he kills. This is not a spoiler, this is the bones of the film, I think. He kills Freddie Granger's wife and then starts to blackmail Freddie Granger's character into killing his dad because he has daddy issues, it seems. But yeah, look, this film for me is really interesting. I saw it for the first time a couple of years ago. And it's kind of one of those ones where it's like it's really famous, but like it's really hard to watch. So that's why it never came across my desk growing up, or as I first started getting into Hitchcock seriously, kind of in my late teens, it never came across. Even though I knew about Strangers on a Train, I heard about it. It's referenced all the time in like TV and stuff. It's like his most famous film. That's like really hard to watch for some stupid reason. Um, so I was there's a couple of things really I was kind of blown away by when I first watched it, and then when I rewatched it this time. Um, I shouldn't really be too surprised, but it's technically fantastic. Some of the shot composition and the editing in this film is fantastic. In some ways, it's probably one of his most tense films.
Yeah.
The tennis match scene, towards the end, for example, like a tennis match has never been as tense
Right.
as this. And then pretty much any scene where Bruno shows up unannounced and starts kind of what's the word? Kind of just getting himself involved in this situations. What's Freddie Granger's character's name again?
Guy Haynes
What? Oh, Guy
is
Haynes. Yes, yes, yes.
yeah,
Guy Haynes. Your grandfather, great
my great
grandfather,
grandfather's
your
name.
great
Yeah.
grandfather. Yeah, Guy Haynes. So when he starts kind of encroaching on Guy's life, those are really tense scenes as well because you don't really know how they're going to boil over. Because this character Bruno is fantastic. I think he's a really great character, and the actor whose name I've forgotten also. Um, is really great in the role. He can really jump between just kind of like very very kind of overly friendly and kind of overly sweet to being, but having that really kind of sinister eyes. It's a really great performance by
Robert Walker.
Robert Walker, thank you. Really great performance by him in this film. Like I said, technically brilliant as well. And there's some really interesting undertones that I only really kind of picked up once I'd learned a bit more about Farley Granger. Um, do you guys know much about Farley Granger as a human?
I do
No.
not.
No. So Farley Granger, he was a closeted homosexual, um, which obviously during this period, McCarthyism and everything like that, was a big deal,
Yeah, yeah.
being, not getting outed and stuff like that. So when I kind of read about that and I kind of thought about the film when I first watched it and what was in my brain, this time watching it was like, it could almost be seen kind of as a there is almost like that kind of subtext of like of gay panic running through the film as well, which I think gives it a really interesting um a really interesting reading. Like you can kind of see it as, Guy's character who's supposed to be this kind of all-American, tennis pro, senator, beautiful woman on his arm, rich, affluent, whatever, um, harboring this kind of dark secret that this other guy who's quite flamboyant and is very happy and out, will perhaps, tell that secret to the world. So I found it really interesting, and the casting of Farley Granger in this role I think was a stroke of genius because if I remember correctly, it was originally supposed to be that the main role was supposed to be played originally by another name I'm forgetting. You'd know that it's late here in Ireland, Sterling Hayden. So
Oh, okay.
Sterling Hayden was originally supposed to be the main character, which I think if you have him in this, it's a different film altogether.
Yeah, very much.
Because nobody's bullying Sterling Hayden. He's a man's man. As an actor and as a force on the screen, he's the guy you get to play the man's man.
Yeah.
So I think the film is incredibly different without Farley Granger. Farley Granger brings this real vulnerability to the role that, again, this is just me reading into it, that I think really he brings it in really authentically because he himself was kind of battling with something in his own life, kind of harboring this dark secret that could probably ruin him if it got out. So I found that really interesting kind of after I watched the film originally and kind of watching it again now. I'm not going to come out here and say that, Alfred Hitchcock purposely wrote this kind of um, film that has this kind of homoerotic undertone or, reading for there's a word I'm trying to think that I'm dancing around. When something has like a kind of when you can read things in like a subtext of homosexuality.
Queer
Um,
coding?
sorry?
Queer coding?
Queer coding, yes, that's exactly the word I was thinking of. So I don't think Hitchcock was purposely kind of queer coding this film or anything like that, but I think it's a reading that's very easy to make. It's the dots are there to connect up quite easily for me if you want to read it that way. And I think it's very interesting to read it that way. But that's me spewing a load of stuff that I like about this movie out there. So I'd be interested to hear your guys' takes. Was this your first time seeing it? I guess it probably was as well for similar reasons to why it took me so long to watch it because it's just hard to watch.
Yes, it was my first time.
Same, yeah.
Okay.
Zach, do you want to go next? And then I have a bunch I want to say, but I'm happy to wait.
Yeah, sure, I can go. Mine's pretty quick. So I generally liked the movie. I thought, it did a lot of the nice Hitchcockian things that I tend to like. I do kind of find the story a bit convoluted for the runtime. Like I was kind of like I feel like part of the way I had to kind of back up a couple times because I think I missed something and I had to like go backwards and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. A lot of characters moving on, and I think that's really was a lot of my issue with it. But I think the set pieces are great, as you talked about, like the tennis match was really good. And I think the end set piece is really cool. It was a different movie than I kind of expected. I was almost thinking of that scene. We watched a Hitchcock movie from the film club. Um, what was the name of that movie?
Shadow of a Doubt.
Shadow of a Doubt, where there's that part where the dude is almost holding the girl hostage on like the train, right? Like that's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
near
yeah.
the end. Almost, in all honesty, it's the reason I had thought we had like when you first said it, I was like, didn't we watch that movie? Wasn't it that one? And then you had to remind me it was Shadow of a Doubt.
Wait until you find out that Hitchcock has a movie that's entirely set on a train.
That is
Exactly.
what I wanted.
We should have watched Lady Vanishes then.
Yeah, so I was sitting there watching it, and because I think the performance by God, I know you just said his name, and I keep blanking on it.
You
Uh,
talking about Farley Granger?
The good or the
no,
bad guy?
the bad guy.
Robert Walker?
Robert
Yeah,
Walker.
he's so good in this movie. He obviously
Yeah.
like sells this whole thing for me. So yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
liked it. I didn't like it as much as a lot of the other Hitchcock. Like I wouldn't put it above obviously Vertigo. I know Chris is going to disagree there, but I would definitely like, I don't think it's quite on that level. Or Psycho or anything like that. But I did have a good time. I think it hit a lot of the Hitchcockian elements that I wanted.
So the backstory for this movie is just really interesting to me, or kind of the crew and some of the stuff. I should note that it is technically on the They Shoot Zombies at 3838. So
Okay.
What
whatever.
the fuck? Okay, sure.
A couple of people said it was a horror movie. And it's very high on They Shoot Pictures. So this is 545, which is going to put it as one of his higher rating ones. I mean, Hitchcock has stuff in the top 10, so but like one of his higher rated ones. Um, this movie was written by three novelists, which I think plays into a little bit of why the writing is so tight and so good. Um, this is a Patricia Highsmith novel. and then the screenplay was written by Raymond Chandler and Chenzi Armand. So like this is just this is like a who's who of writing um around this. And I'm not ready to say this is my favorite Hitchcock, but this is probably like a top three or four for me. I love I love this movie a lot. Um, I think it's I think it's what Hitchcock does very well with the like a writing and a writing team that vibes with me well. Like I like Raymond Chandler stories. You know, Patricia Highsmith has done some of Hitchcock's best work, I think, when he's adapted some of her stuff. Um, so yeah, like I like this movie a lot. And Robert Walker is a super interesting guy. He died the same year this came out, which is why I think
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know him, or he's not as much of a household name. And he died of he was having he'd been drinking and he went into a mental kind of breakdown or like having some kind of a mental, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a mental episode, or like a psychotic episode. And his doctor came over and gave him a medicine that did not mix with alcohol, but he had been drinking heavily and he passed out and stopped breathing. So
Crazy.
I think when you see crazy behind his eyes, I mean, I don't mean to be so blunt, but like, he's one of these people that had demons. And I think that plays so well into this movie. Like, this is the only time I've watched a movie and felt like I could see him in the lead role in Night of the Hunter in exchange for Mitchum. Like, I could see him play
Hmm.
that part.
Yeah, I actually
That's a
that's who
good
it kind of
shout.
reminded me of. Yeah, so yeah.
That's a good shout. Never thought of that. That was a good shout.
Yeah, thanks. He just balances that evil like that's right under the surface so well. And you're right, like those scenes when he's at the parties visiting high society and trying to throw himself into that world, you don't really understand his motives for doing it other than just to try to force the hand of Guy Haynes maybe. But it's just so tense because you're thinking like, well, like how far is he going to go here, you know?
Well, his character is from that world. It's almost like he's putting on the mask. So obviously, that's his character's backstory is that his father is some kind of rich guy. We don't know for sure, probably like some kind of an industrialist or something like that. So he's probably well used to being in those situations. So like the way I see those scenes is that he's basically like just maxing it out. He's just really
Okay.
putting on the act, that he's kind of would have seen or been exposed to his whole life because he comes from a rich family. That's why he hates his dad because he just wants to sit around and lounge around and enjoy money and, be a socialite or whatever. But his dad wants him to go and get an actual job and work for his money. Which is such a stupid reason to get to want to fucking murder your father. Uh, but that's his motive. Or at least that's what he tells Guy. And obviously, he's obviously a psychopath and very ill or whatever. But that's what he tells Guy, and that's what he's like. My dad wants me to get a fucking job. Fuck that guy. You should kill him. You know what I mean?
A true yuppie.
True yuppie. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
I'd rather kill my dad and inherit millions than work a day in my life. Fuck that shit.
Patrick Bateman
Uh,
would be proud.
100% he would.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
Um,
but
I
he's such an interesting character, and I think they just balance off each other so well.
Yes.
With the way kind of Guy Haynes is more reserved and vulnerable and very much like he is a good like well, is he a good guy? Is Guy Haynes actually a good guy?
I wouldn't
That's
say so. I
No.
really
Yeah.
wouldn't. Yeah, he kind of fits that. I guess you could kind of say the same thing about like a lot of Jimmy Stewart's characters sometimes. It's like there's something a little off on them. Like maybe they're not terrible people or evil people or anything, but I really wouldn't put them in they're good people.
Yeah. He's not an unhinged killer.
And it's also not like to bring the Jimmy Stewart comparison. It's not quite to the level of Scotty and Vertigo
Right.
either.
Yeah.
It's not quite at that level, but he is he's self-driven. He's the whole way through the film. Yeah, he's the hero, sure, but he's still driven by his own self-interest throughout the whole film.
It almost feels like, you guys were talking about the mask the other character was putting on. That almost feels like what he is the whole movie. Like I never feel like I really know who Guy Haynes is in the film.
And
Like
this is why I found it. This is why I find those kind of that kind of fuck, Chris, what was the word you told me a minute ago?
queer
Queer
coding.
coding.
Queer coding, yeah, I guess, yeah, queer. That's why I found that reading of the film so interesting because he does seem as though he's wearing a mask and he's afraid it's going to slip because Bruno's going to tell the world his secret. Um,
And there's a lot of movies like that, right? Where you have the bad guy, like they don't make it very overt in this one, but like you have the bad guy who sees like this like this seemingly okay or decent person, and it's like you're not that much different, and I
yeah,
can
you
almost
can be
prove it.
corrupted. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. We see that in loads of films.
yeah.
That's a pretty common trope.
Yeah.
It's a good call out.
I don't know that I'm not saying we're necessarily going to move on, but one other thing I wanted to just kind of talk about was where this was in Hitchcock's career, because I think it's kind of
Mm.
interesting. He has he obviously he has the movies that he's famous for, but then there's a lot of work that he does in between them. Like if you go back to the 39 Steps, that was back in 1935,
Hmm.
which is crazy. And then The Lady Vanishes was 1938, speaking of that. Then Rebecca is 1940, and then he goes through a bit of a stretch where they're movies that are fun to watch, but there's nothing that's just I guess some people really love Shadow of a Doubt. So that'd be 40.
I'm gonna get ready to dispute this. I'm just pulling up his filmography now. 'Cause Shadow of a Doubt was my second favorite Hitchcock film. That film's a fucking masterpiece.
Fine.
Underrated.
It's kind of going, I mean, like, I'm just saying that like it's interesting his career because in between these like notable, like really good movies, and I'm fine to
No, but I agree. Like I'm looking at his filmography here. Like so you have like in 46 you have Notorious, which is beloved. I don't particularly love it, but it is like a beloved film. People
right.
fucking love Notorious. But then you have the fucking Paradigm Case. What the fuck is that?
That's
Then
exactly it.
and then you have Rope, another beloved Hitchcock film, iconic, one of his kind of most interesting films in terms of like how the film's put together, followed by Under Capricorn and Stage Fright, and then
Right.
Strangers on a Train. So
Yes.
like there is a bunch of mid in there. I'd agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I'm just interested. I mean, or maybe not. I don't know. I haven't seen any of these, but like they're
No, there is. I've seen Stage Fright. It's pretty mid. I
okay.
haven't seen Under Capricorn, but I've seen Stage Fright. It's pretty mid.
Yeah. It's
I've
just interesting.
seen I Confess. It's mid. But then you have Dial M for Murder, which is a banger, and then Rear Window, which is obviously a banger, and then To Catch a Thief, I don't like, and then The Trouble with
There's a
Harry is
steel book of
kind
that,
of
by the way. I saw it the other day. There's a
of
4K steel book of The Catch a
Yeah.
Thief.
I don't like
that's
to read
because
them.
it's in that it's part of that whoever owns the rights to that collection.
I don't is that one in I don't think that was part
It
of that
is.
collection. I thought that was part of Paramount. I think Paramount owns that one.
Oh,
No, I think
I
it's a
can only
contract.
speak for the one I have.
Maybe I am wrong. I feel like there was maybe that's North by Northwest. There's
No, no, no,
feels
no,
like there's
no.
like
They're
one
both
random
in
one
there.
that's not in that set that someone else put a steelbook out for.
No, it's
Oh,
the same company that did the Paramount Presents. So because I think it's To Catch a Thief, but it's like a very high. It's a very what's the word? Yeah, To Catch a Thief. It is Paramount Presents. I didn't like that movie at all, to be
I
honest.
haven't seen it, so I can't comment. I
I
just saw
also don't like
it.
it.
I just knew
But a
Adam
lot of people
hated
do
it.
like it. A lot of people do like it.
Is
So,
it like Jamaican Inn? Is that the other one he did that people
no,
really fucking
Jamaica. Yeah, Jamaica Inn's not good.
Yeah, I thought that was the other one I'd heard.
Arrow put that out randomly, at least over here. Arrow
Yeah,
put
I
that
think
one out.
that. Well, yeah, I think everybody imports the Arrow. If it's not Arrow, it's Kino that has that one. So
Mm.
that's the only other company I can think of that would put it out here.
Yeah. But no, I guess my whole main point in this is just to say, um, like I think for me, Hitchcock is at his best when he's working with an amazing screenwriter. And sometimes he has a good idea and sees it through. I'm not saying he's not a good writer, but I do think his films go up and down based on the quality of the script, which I know it's like a silly thing to say. Like you could say that about any director, really. But um, he's a director that I have conflict about because he's not one that I'll just like automatically go see a Hitchcock movie. But his best movies are some of the best movies. So it's like an interesting balance between those two.
And it kind of reminds me, and might be I'll pull a Chris type comparison, but it kind of reminds me because he worked so much in a studio. He made a ton of fucking movies. It's kind of like Mike in that way, like the dude's just making movies, and then this one's awesome, and he's next one. It's like I don't know, we'll
I
see
love
what
it.
happens.
That made my month at least, if not year. Thank you, Zach.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but no, this is one of his best. I think I love it. I think this is a very good movie. I get same vibes from this as I do. It's funny we talk about The Lady Vanishes. That's always one of my favorite ones as well. Um,
That
but
is good.
yeah,
Well,
It's
it's
very
on a train.
English
I'm gonna
though.
watch it.
It's very English. I actually don't know if you'd like it. It's very English.
oh, it's so English. It's so
It's
fun.
not French, so I might like
Yeah, I
it.
suppose. Just before we move on from Stranger on a Train, just a couple of things that I want to kind of just bring up. One's very short. I just love that shot of when Guy is practicing tennis and everyone, the crowd are like looking back and forth at the ball, and Bruno's just sitting there staring straight at him.
Totally.
That's a good
Absolute
one.
fucking banger, 10 out of 10 shot.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. And then another one, just a funny one. Hitchcock's daughter's in this movie. You
I
guys
saw
know.
that in the cast. Yeah.
Yeah, so she plays Barbara, the kind of spunky sister, which I thought was just a really funny role. She just sits there and just roasts people for like an hour and a half. I was like, that's a great role. That's like the best role to have in this movie. All she does is just roast everyone. Um, so I just thought that was funny because I don't know if she's in much else really, like in like that much of it in like that prominent of a role. I'm just pulling it up here. No, she's not really.
Yeah.
She had kind of like she had named roles in a couple of other Hitchcock films, but definitely, and all the rest of her filmography is just like behind the scenes archival stuff. Um, so it's just interesting because I actually think she's pretty good in it. So I'm surprised she never got into like had a bigger career as like a even like in a comedy or something like that. She seems like the kind of like spunky friend who would be in a rom com.
Maybe she was born 30 years too early.
I think she probably was, yeah. She could like in like an 80s movie, she would definitely be like the spunky friend in an 80s rom-com.
Damn it,
Um,
Hitchcock! Why didn't you have her when you were 75?
Exactly.
you bastard, Hitchcock. It's like why I'm always annoyed that he died before the 80s, because that man would have made some unhinged fucking shit
When
in
you
the
watched, what
80s.
was it, Frenzy, and you were like, was
Holy
that the one you
shit.
said? Is it just a De Palma film,
Frenzy
basically?
is Frenzy is crazy. Hitchcock would have made some unhinged shit in the 80s, man. It would have been because like Frenzy is pretty unhinged. Like
Well, that,
he goes all out. There's like vicious murder, there's tits, there's blood. He goes crazy. He goes
you know, I,
off.
it might really explain De Palma. Like he saw that as like a teenager or something. He's like, what the fuck? I want to see what an 80s Hitchcock movie looks like. I'm gonna
Yeah,
do that my whole
100%.
career.
100%. He was like, this is the torch. I am picking it up. Um, yeah. R.I.P. Alf. You were a pretty shitty human being, but you made some banger movies. On to another shitty human being who made some banger movies. Will we move on to Owl Ingmar?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. So we're moving up to 1968. We're going to talk about a film called Skaman. That's my terrible Swedish accent.
Sounds good.
The film's called Shame in the English. Um, I'm trying to remember why I picked this one. Jesus, it's so depressing. I watched it again today, and fucking hell, this movie is depressing.
Oh, that's great.
I'm trying to remember why I picked it because like I wanted to pick one that Zach hadn't seen because I didn't want to just pick Hour of the Wolf or Virgin Spring because obviously we haven't talked about these movies, but Zach had seen them, and I wanted to pick a movie that Zach hadn't seen. But I also didn't want to pick one that I hadn't seen because I wanted to know that it was going to be good.
Right.
And I've already seen all of his kind of dark ones. The ones that I left that I haven't seen are the kind of more light ones, like Summer with Monica and stuff like that. Um, I think this was kind of like the darkest one that I could think of that I really liked left. I guess I could have picked the Seventh Seal. Thinking about it now, we probably should have watched the Seventh Seal.
When you
But
said you were doing Bergman, that's what I was waiting on. I was like, oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
yeah, in hindsight, we should have watched the Seventh Seal. Instead, we watched Shame.
I'm just
Look,
gonna
this
make
movie.
seven. I'm gonna make Seven Seal the last one I watch. I think
Yeah,
at this point.
it's not a bad idea. I'll get through just the letterbox for it. So in the midst of a civil war, a pair of former violinists in a tempestuous relationship oversee a farm on a rural island. In spite of their best efforts to escape their homeland, the war impinges on every aspect of their lives. This is one of the many films he made on Faro, same island where he made Through Glass Darkly and the rest of that trilogy, Passion of Anna, stuff like that. He made quite a lot of films on this island in this kind of part of his career. Um, and like in some ways, it's kind of the closest we'll ever get to an Ingmar Bergman action movie. It was obviously made during the Vietnam War, so there's obviously a lot of allusions to that in terms of the craziness of war. A lot of the stuff, probably wouldn't have been too different to what was on the news channels coming out of Vietnam at that time, with the bombs and the trucks and everything like that. Um, it's a very apocalyptic film. Um, and it starts off relatively tame, some would even say sweet. Um, and then it takes a dark turn and just never looks better. Um, he really pulled no punches with its depiction of war, and I guess more importantly than the war itself, because it's not like we see any like major battles. It's not like it's fucking Saving Private Ryan or whatever. Um, it's more about how it affects the civilians, and not just in terms of displacing them physically, but emotionally, mentally, and how it even can drive away two people who love and adore each other, and how it can just create new people from them, from the shells of the originals, I guess. It's a very harrowing film. I watched this while working, and I was like, "This what I sat here today watching this while working, and I was like, why did I do this? I forgot how I forgot how sad this movie is. But it's really good. It's the cinematography. It's Sven Nykvist, so it looks like it just looks incredible. Because anything that Bergman and Nykvist made together looks incredible. It's Liv Ullmann, the greatest actress to ever live, and Max von Sydow, who probably up there for one of the greatest actors to ever live,
Yeah.
putting in just amazing performances, and just the the depth of their performances, and how they change throughout this film
Oof.
is stunning. Liv Ullmann in particular. It's almost like they filmed it over 10 years. The way her youth just gets evaporated throughout the film.
So you're saying he should have
Uh,
boyhooded this? Like
he
he should, yeah.
he didn't need to. That's how fucking good Ingmar Bergman is. He didn't need to boyhood this shit. He didn't need to. Um, yeah, this is a sad movie, but it's really good. So I'm interested. I know Chris, you'd seen it before, so kind of interested in Zach's take.
Sure. Yeah. So I didn't write much in the review I sent, but I do think it brings a point of like since I kind of alluded to this when we were talking about Godard a minute ago. The one thing I really like about all these Bergman films is I've gotten to the point where I never dread them because even if the plot doesn't sound that interesting, he's pretty good at making things that don't sound like my sort of thing end up being my sort of thing. Um, and this is no different. Like it's not as I don't have it as high as like Virgin Spring or Persona or Through a Glass Darkly, but like
Yeah.
right behind that, I've seen this is my seventh Bergman film I've seen. So yeah, I've enjoyed almost all of them. I think the only one I haven't enjoyed was that fucking Fanny and Alexander, which is so boring
I haven't
and so
seen it.
terrible.
I'm
It's
kind
it's
of
rich
one of
people
those.
problems, the movie. Not into
Yeah,
it. But this one's great. I because I didn't look up anything before I watched it. I just turned it on, which I think was kind of a good way to go into this one. I had no expectations, so when the first like I don't know, like 10 or 15 minutes is just like this husband and wife on an island just kind of talking about their marital issues. I was already into it. I was like, yeah, this is good acting of, you know, marriage story without the feeling of self-importance. I can get into that. Um So, I was there and then the fucking war stuff starts and I'm like, this is awesome. And then by the end, it's like, wow, that was depressing. Why did Adam make us watch this? And that was pretty much, I think that sums it up well. Like I had I'm very glad I watched this. This isn't one I probably would have watched next on my own because I would say the next one is going to be Cries and Whispers if I had to probably guess of what the
Oh
next one
Yeah.
would be.
man.
Yeah.
If you thought this was depressing.
Yeah, that's why that one's been on the back burner for a
No,
while.
but they're different though. They're
They
different
are
though.
very different films. Yeah, yeah. I actually
This one,
think you'll like Cries and Whispers a lot.
that one's more sad, and I think, but this one just leaves you with a feeling that everything is hopeless, and like this is just like this is like an existentially sad movie.
It's a yeah, there's what's the term? This is why we shouldn't record at 11 o'clock Irish time. Nihilistic is the word I'm
It's
looking for.
very, this is rife with nihilism. Yes.
Yeah, because it's like the beginning of the film. It's just like the biggest thing they have is it seems like she finds him too sensitive. Like he goes back in the house to get his jacket and he's like crying, and you know it's like, oh, okay, well we're gonna kind of get into some like marriage roles, and I think the film like does like continuously touch on that, like the whole like gender and marriage roles thing. But obviously it takes like I guess some sort of a backseat to it with everything else going on. But I do feel like that kind of stays, I guess, persistent as we go
Yeah,
through. Yeah.
no, definitely, 100%. It still becomes the anchor of the film is
Mhm.
their marriage and how the dynamics within their marriage change and how circumstances have forced their circumstances to change. They start off the film as, you know, pretty normal wedded couple and their dynamic for one another and how they approach the world is so vastly different, halfway through the film and then three-quarters of the way through the film and then at the very end. So it's still kind of the anchor. Like, yeah, there's all this war stuff going on, but that's kind of just more of a stage
Hmm.
for the themes, I think.
Sure, like your
Um,
catalyst, like to almost like make these like issues or these like points kind of accelerate.
yeah, it's and I think it's also there to help reflect the themes of kind of battling your own inner issues and
Hmm.
getting over things, or sometimes you're put in a position where you need to change something about yourself, or maybe you don't want to change something about yourself. So I think the battle is like the whole kind of civil war. There's a reason why it's never really developed in terms of actually knowing the semantics of the war of who's fighting who
Yeah, it's not
and for
Battle of
what
Algiers or anything.
reason.
Yeah.
We don't need to know the reason because it's not really the main point.
Hmm.
It's kind of like, the way sometimes you'll have these like novels are kind of written in this style of, I can't remember what it's called. It's like hysterical realism or something. It's kind of like Infinite Jest, where like there's this weird, crazy story going on in the background, but it's not actually really that important. The important part is the people at the forefront and their
Hmm.
lives. And it's kind of like that, um, in a way. Um, like like the I'll be real, the war stuff's cool. Like
Yeah.
Hitchcock, or not Hitchcock, Bergman could have made a banger war film if he
Yeah,
wanted to.
I agree.
Because he like the stuff that's in here with the war, with the like the jets and the explosions in particular are actually really cool.
And I think
Uh,
it's like it feels different like than you would see in like anyone else who made a war film at the time because I think it's coming from somebody who doesn't just normally like make war films and doesn't make action films.
like interestingly enough, like there's a film that's it's not incredibly similar in terms of its, well, I'm not going to say it's not incredibly similar. There's a film by Tarkovsky called The Sacrifice, which I actually
Hmm.
don't really like that much because it's fucking slow as shit.
It's a Stravinsky film, of
Um,
course. It's slow.
but like it's slow for even like by his standards. Like
Jesus Christ.
I actually like pretty like I'm pretty okay with most Tarkovsky films. I like yeah, I'm pretty on board with most of his filmography. Um, but The Sacrifice is slow as fuck. But it's very similar in that it deals with similar stuff. It's like the fallout of a family. while there's also this apocalyptic situation going on in the background. It's not like the main thing. The main thing is how it's affecting the family's dynamic with one another.
Mhm.
So it's thematically kind of similar. Um, Even if I think this is a better film because it doesn't bore the shit out of me. Which, funnily enough, I'm just gonna double check this. I'm pretty sure Sven Nykvist was the cinematographer for The Sacrifice. Let me just
Dude
double
got
check.
around.
Let me just double check that. Because I know it did star Erland Josephson, who was in a few Bergman films.
Wasn't he briefly in
Uh,
this?
no, well, it was Gunnar Bjornstrand who was in this, but I don't
Oh,
understand why you get confused.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was Sven Nykvist who made The Sacrifice as well. Sorry, I don't mean to make this a Tarkovsky thing,
We haven't watched any of
but
his films for the podcast, have we?
no,
Right.
I just
it's
realized that.
probably a reason.
First
Yeah.
director we're gonna do out of the gate with that.
Okay,
We're just gonna
I just
do
wanted
Tarkovsky, right?
Director run.
I wanted to double check this because I wanted to make sure if I was wrong or right. So while often this is something from the filming of The Sacrifice, while often erroneously claimed to have been shot on Faro, which is what I was about to claim, that The Sacrifice was made on Faro, it was actually filmed on a nearby island in Gotland because he
Faro
was
adjacent.
denied access to Faro, apparently. Um, Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a mad tangent about a Tarkovsky film.
But before we move on from Sven Nykvist, there's a
Mhm.
shot in Shame where he's collecting some remains from a house, and it's taken right outside the house, and the square window is framed, and inside the square window is another square frame that's perfectly like in perfect 90-degree angle, and he's standing kind of crouching behind that frame. So you've got essentially like three layers of shot, and it's like a subtle thing because he's just collecting some stuff from his house, but it's a stunning shot. Like I meant to take a picture of it, I got distracted, but like the basic cinematography, there's a lot of stuff of them just walking around the island or being pulled around by soldiers and all that kind of stuff. But when Nick Fist has a chance to show off, like, there's some beautiful shots in this movie.
I think he's the greatest cinematographer ever. I anything that he's ever made, like even if the rest of the movie is not that great, it just looks good. Like he did a couple of Woody Allen movies
Yeah.
that are not particularly good, but Jesus, they look great.
Mhm.
He's the greatest of all time as far as I'm concerned. He just the way he saw the world and the way he could frame the world is just
Yeah.
it's like nobody else. He just saw things in a different way and he saw the camera and he saw framing just in a way that nobody else did.
Bro made What's Eating Gilbert Grape. That's wild. I was just
Oh,
sorry. I didn't know if I'd how much of his stuff I'd seen besides Bergman. So I was taking a look.
Oh, he's like an Italian composer. Like his cinematography, his filmography is deep.
Yeah, I mean there's some Polanski in here.
what
But
Polanski did he do?
The Tenant.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
oh, The Tenant's awesome. It's the only Polanski movie I've seen, and it's excellent. So it makes me want to see more.
It's still crazy. I haven't seen Chinatown.
Yeah, that one's the wild one to me.
No, I mean you
Chinatown,
could
man.
you could say the same thing about Rosemary's Baby or whatever, right?
Well, you guys didn't. Well, you didn't see Carrie until recently either, right? Like,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
I
Adam still
still
hasn't seen
haven't.
it.
I still
yeah.
haven't seen it. Oh.
I don't like horror movies.
But
I noticed.
Chinatown's like one of the greatest films ever made. It's probably the greatest script ever.
That's cool. No, I mean I'm gonna be more open to it. I mean, I think it's not like he's sitting there just collecting royalties at this point in his life. So
Well, just pirate it. Like that's
yeah,
he doesn't get a cent. Just sail the high seas, brother. Buck Polanski, Buck and
yeah,
Pedo.
yeah, exactly. But anyways,
Just so we're clear on this podcast, we don't
We don't
condone anything
we
Polanski
don't
does in his
support Roman Polanski financially. Artistically, perhaps, but not financially.
um yeah, no, but like this movie is beloved, right? So Shame is 851 of all time on
Oh.
They Shoot Pictures. Interestingly, it's not on They Shoot Zombies.
Hmm. I thought it might have snuck in there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
since they just add war films to that list anyway.
War's
exactly,
scary, man. War's
exactly, yeah.
scary.
I think the thing that's interesting about this movie is it keeps becoming something other than what you'd expect it to be. Like I love movies that sort of as they go on, they change completely what they're about. And I think it does that in a very elegant way. Like it's about this loving couple, and then it's about them, trying to sort of stay alive in this weird situation where they're being drug around and inquired by the police, and then you have what happens afterwards, and things just start to fall apart. Like I don't know if there's spoilers for this, but we don't have to talk about the ending or anything. But it's just I like the way that the movie keeps surprising you, and I think it's a movie that does very, very well on rewatch because you don't have that jostling around of like, okay, what's this movie? Like what, okay, wait, what's this? Like this is a big change. This is a big change. And you just get to kind of like let it happen and just watch it. So I think this is a very good movie. And it is one that's interesting to me because it is so from like philosophically, it's so tragic. Like this is a tragedy, right? Like it's not even just that it's depressing. Like this is like a historic tragedy kind of thing, right? Um, and there's so many individual decisions that like the couple has to make that are destructive to them. There's so much betrayal in the movie. There's a lot of like, even though they're very sweet with each other and it seems like they embrace each other's flaws, I guess, or quirks, as the movie comes on, you see what happens when that's stressed and it falls apart so quickly in some areas. As things turn to like hate at times, you see remnants of the love there. It's almost like a joint experience and kind of companionship at times. They're just going to keep going even though they have this, resentment for each other. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that this movie is one that is good to rewatch, even though it's difficult to, and like just continue to come back to because I think it's one of his most complex movies. And I don't know. I really like it.
Well, it's like what you're kind of talking about is like a big human condition thing in a sense.
Yeah,
Like I think he's very good at capturing that.
yeah,
Because I mean, you look at it like we're all in a relationship. There are things, hot take, that you probably get annoyed with your significant other, and you
yeah,
made a decision very early in your relationship if you were going to be able to put up with it or not. And they had the same feeling for you. And so when those things get stressed, that like I don't want to say mask, but that feeling of okay, I can't deal with this right now, comes out in some way, and I
yeah,
think that's captured very well here.
yeah. Totally agree. I'm trying to think of where I would put this in terms of Bergman movies. I don't.
For a while, this was my favorite.
Yeah,
Really,
who's your
Yeah,
favorite one?
for a
what is
while.
your number one now?
Honestly, I jump around a lot. The one I think that I'll always just end up going back to is, and this is probably the most cliche answer, it's just Persona.
Hmm.
Persona is just like for that is like when you talk about complexity, I think that's like the Mount Everest of like art film. It's like up there with like that in 2001, A Space Odyssey, or like and Mulholland Drive would be like the three pinnacles of film as art for me.
Hmm.
Um, like unadulterated art. Like Vertigo, I think is the best film as entertainment ever made. But film just purely as an art form, Persona, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Mulholland Drive. They're like the three for me. They're the pinnacle. They're the peak. That's the apex. If aliens come down to visit us tomorrow and they say, "Show us three films that prove that humans know art and we'll won't destroy the planet," those are the three I'm putting in front of them.
I'm just giving them Yui Bowl films, just see what happens.
They don't. They're aliens. They don't know shit. They haven't. They haven't.
Exactly, like
They haven't seen these movies.
We
Um,
enjoy movies from Godfrey.
enjoy Postal. No. Yeah. I like Persona. I think, but like there's other ones that I love a lot. Like obviously True Glass Darkly. Um, The Passion of Anna, which is kind of thematically connected to shame. The Passion of Anna is excellent as well. Those would probably be like my top three, and then shame in there as well somewhere. Um, But for a while, like when I first saw Shame, it just blew me. Like when I first saw this film, it just blew me away, and I was like, this is probably the best film he made.
Yeah.
But then I just jump around a lot.
Not that I know you're asking Adam because it's one of his favorite directors, but for what it's worth, Cries and Whispers for me is my favorite, although I like a lot of his movies. And
Virgin Spring, because it's the obvious one for me. I'm not too surprising.
yeah,
I think that's the one
Um,
Adam literally recommended to me. He's like, if you like any of them, it'll be this one.
well,
yeah,
like it was just such an easy win. It's the film that inspired Last House on the Left. That's just like that's as easy a win as I was ever gonna get with with
Yeah, because we had watched I watched it right after Wild Strawberries. That's what it was, and I didn't really care all that much for Wild Strawberries. So what is
yeah,
this?
I don't either.
So what is this? Is this the fourth? Is this the fourth Bergman film we've watched on this podcast?
On this podcast, what have we watched? The Wild Strawberries,
yeah.
Through a Glass Darkly, this. And did we do Persona?
I swear we did Persona because I don't think I watched that on my own.
Okay. Well,
I
there you
swear
go.
I could be wrong, but I don't think I watched either
No,
that
I
or we
think
just watched it for
you
film
must be
club.
right.
Yeah,
No, I think you might be right.
yeah.
I can't
Because we
believe
were
I'm
definitely doing, I suppose maybe we could have done it for Film Club and not recorded it, depending on when we
Yeah.
did it. We'll have to go back. I'll have a sift through our 100 and whatever episodes and see if we did Persona or not.
Because I feel like the only two I've watched on my own are Virgin Spring and Hour of the Wolf, is because they're the most like horror adjacent that, as
Yeah.
far as I know, he did.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, those two. And then Persona would be like a close third.
Yeah.
And True Glass Darkly as well, I guess.
Before we move on from Bergman, there's just one interesting thing I've always wanted to see. He did a TV miniseries on Don Juan, and I'm just fascinated to see his take on that. Because
Well, he
when
basically lived that life anyway. He was a bit of a fucking womanizer.
I mean, I know what you mean, but I feel like when Fellini made Casanova, he made it as a satire because he thought Casanova was a stupid character, and I just have to feel like Bergman would feel that way about Don Juan.
So what you're saying is Bergman was more faithful to his actors and keeping them in his films than he was to the women in his life. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, not necessarily because the women in his life were largely acting in his films.
So you kept a job. I understand.
Like it's really funny because like scenes from a marriage is Liv Ullmann starring as basically herself as her
Jeez.
marriage falls
Right.
apart.
He must be to do that. I mean, he's got to. It's like reminds us of somebody about Mike Flanagan. Like I think one of his ex-girlfriends is in like his movies now, and I was like, he must be a decent guy. Like you break up, his wife is in all of his films, and you're still there.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm still here. Like, sure enough.
Funny. Speaking of womanizers, we move on to our next filmmaker, unless anyone else has any
No,
other
I think we're good.
thoughts
Yeah,
on Shame.
yeah.
These have been great segues. These have been brilliant so far. Getting from one to the other. So last but certainly not least, we're going to talk about a film from a man who, when he died this year, it really hit me hard. It hit me harder than I thought it was going to hit me.
Was it this year? Is it? Is
Yeah.
it? What is it? The beginning of the year? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And it hit me harder than I thought it was going to hit me. I remember I was just in my living room, and so random, there was a woman doing like a census, kind of like a census thing, but for babies. It's like a thing that you do. You just get randomly chosen in Ireland, and they just come in and just learn about parents and the babies and stuff, and then they come back every few years to kind of learn more and stuff. I'm not getting into it.
Interesting.
But she was in our living room doing a survey, and I had done my questions, and she was doing Neve's questions, and I checked my phone, and I saw the news, and I just kind of sat down on the floor, and Neve was kind of looking at me going like, "Are you fucking okay?" And I was just like, just come back to me when this woman's gone. It really hit me hard. David Lynch, just for those, just to clear the air. So yeah, when David Lynch died this year, it really, really hit me hard. He was the first filmmaker that I really fell in love with when I got really into film. So yeah, losing him this year was tough.
I get it, man. I told my girlfriend for years, when Carpenter passes, I'm taking the fucking day off work. Like,
oh yeah, shit, that'd be crazy. But we've only done Mulholland Drive, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, she doesn't have that many like
No,
movies. Like he has
no.
a shit ton in his career, but
I just couldn't remember if we
features.
did Inland Empire. I know we watched that for the film club, but I didn't know if we'd
No,
covered
I
it
don't
in
think
an
we did it for
episode.
here. No.
Okay, would have been here all fucking day. So I I decided to go with one that I've always found to be very underrated. If a lot more people are liking it and watching it now that it got its fancy Criterion release a couple of years ago. But I always found it to be very underrated. I've seen this film a fuck ton of times. I didn't even rewatch it this time because I just know it so well because I've seen it so many times. And it's from 1997. It's called Lost Highway, starring Bill Pullman, Baltasar Getty, Patricia Arquette, Robert Blake, Robert Loggia, bunch of people, Richard Pryor randomly, Gary Busey randomly. But to give you the
Gary
plot,
Busey is only in movies randomly. I think
that's true.
that's just him.
Never on purpose. To read you the description from Letterboxd, so a tormented jazz musician finds himself lost in an enigmatic story involving murder, surveillance, gangsters, doppelgangers, and an impossible transformation inside a prison cell. I'm not going to go first this time because I'm really interested to hear your guys' takes, purely because Lost Highway for a long time was a very divisive film. A lot of people didn't really care about it. It was kind of like a lot of Lynch's 90s work post Twin Peaks was kind of underappreciated. We think of Wild at Heart, we think of this, and to a smaller extent, Fire Walk with, well, no, not to a smaller extent, really to a bigger extent, Fire Walk with Me, which was derided at the time. And for a long time, up until relatively recently, people hated it. So a lot of
I
Lynch's
think The
90s
Return
work,
helped it a lot. Like I
I think
really
so
do.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lynch's work was not beloved for a long time, and but Lost Highway was a film that I always loved since I was a teenager, since I first watched it. So yeah, I'm happy to kind of hear your guys' thoughts on it, and then I can kind of give mine, kind of talk about why I like it and stuff like that.
Maybe the science first.
What's that?
Maybe the science first, if y'all are okay.
Sure. Yeah. Go for it, man.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
They Shoot Zombies is 273
okay.
of
That's
all time.
fascinating. I could
Go
see
off,
that.
King.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's one of his highest rated horror movies. Um, and then um, the They Shoot Pictures is also extremely high at 377.
Wow.
It's
So
probably the
it's
closest I've seen two movies from both lists be to one
true,
another.
true, yeah.
Yeah.
But so critically, this is a movie that is very beloved. I don't know, Zach, if you want to go first as far as
Yeah, I can because it probably has been the longest between us three. I kind of made a conscious effort to not rewatch it this time. I had seen it a little while ago. Um, because I think what's different about this one versus like Mulholland Drive is both times when I watched each of those films, I wasn't really 100% sure what's going on. I think the real difference is with Mulholland Drive, I think I had like at least a stick in the ground of places I knew where to go. Where what I do like about Lost Highway, this isn't a negative. I think it's just an interesting comparison because they were just made just a few years apart. Is this one? It's a little bit harder to me. It's almost like a water. It's almost like water sometimes. Like trying to like find a place to kind of stick to kind of find your interpretation of it because it's a lot more of a vibe to me type of film than Mulholland Drive, which I think you can get like just straight into. This is the theories here. This is what this could mean. This is what this could mean. Where this one, I don't. I think that's a bit harder. At least to me, it was like for Lost Highway. Um, I think it's interesting that it's one of Adam's favorites, just because I know sometimes a vibe thing is something that you can kind of not be as into when something is just really writing that exclusively. So you might have a very different feeling towards the film than I do. But I really like it. It's the same example I've always said. Like when I watch a Lynch movie, I don't know what any of it meant, but I liked it, and I think that fell into Lost Highway as well.
yeah, no, totally. I think that's exactly right. This is very much a vibe. This was my second time watching it within a year. Um, and I liked it way more the second time. I gave it 3.5 stars the first time. It's probably going to go up at least another star for me. I think the kind of 80s, well, I mean, I know the movie was made in the 90s, but it's kind of got that 80s music playing in it a little bit, maybe early 90s music playing in it. And it definitely has a 90s aesthetic that kind of threw me off the first time. It's one of my least favorite eras of like art and music and everything. But the like what he didn't he cite Vertigo as a reference for this?
Oh,
That is a
yes,
good
he
Adam
did.
question. Ah.
It's so like yeah, like it's so clear that this is I'm not saying this is David Lynch's Vertigo. I'm not going to say it quite like that,
Oh,
but
I will. I'll go
okay,
there.
okay. But yeah, but it's so clear that that's an influence on this, I think, and like it's quite Patricia Arquette is the perfect casting. Like, not to sound like a creeper, but her body is amazing, and I think that's kind of important for this role because she's asked to pull off a very difficult character of being like somebody that you die for, kind of thing, and like that you would lose your mind for, lose your sense for. And I think she was a perfect casting for this. And just I don't know. I like the way that it unfolds. I like the way that he doesn't explain everything, but that's typical Lynch. But in a way, it kind of gives you enough clues and hints that I think you can generally kind of understand at least high level what he's getting at, even though it falls apart immediately if you're asked to dissect it. But I think generally, I think his movies are like accessible, experimental, or accessible yeah,
Surrealism.
surrealism. Thank you. Yeah, and this is a good example of that. So no, I had a ton of fun with this, and this is probably one of like the better roles of Bill Pullman, I think, as well. I think he's very good in this. I'm curious what you have to say, Adam, because no, I mean, this is a movie that I like okay, and after seeing it again, I like it a lot.
So this is David Lynch's Vertigo.
Okay.
No, but no, it's very overt. They even have the different hair colors and stuff for like the different
Right.
versions of the character. There's obviously those themes of jealousy and kind of toxic masculinity and control. So yeah, you're definitely not seeing ghosts when you say that. That's for sure. And Vertigo has really been a touchstone of Lynch's career, just
Okay.
generally speaking. There's a lot of Vertigo in a lot of Lynch's movies, a lot of Shadow of a Doubt, a lot of Hitchcock generally. Kind of like a perverted Hitchcock imagery in a lot of his films, which makes sense why I like the two of them a lot. Um, the Before I get into kind of the meat and potatoes in terms of technical stuff, I guess I'll kind of touch on something that you both kind of mentioned in terms of like what the film means. And I'm not going to say that I have the key. I'm not going to say I know exactly what the film's about or anything like that. But as someone who's seen it, I've probably seen this film like a dozen times.
Nice.
Just like conservatively to kind of say that, since because I watched it a lot when I was a teenager. Because again, to kind of quote my DVD collection that I had, this was one of the ones. So I just watched it a lot. So this is actually one of the very few films where David Lynch himself gave the audience the key to understanding the film. And it was in an interview. I can't remember the context of the interview, but he said at the time. So he co-wrote this film with Barry Gifford, who wrote Wild at Heart. Um, Obviously, they were working together a lot during this period. So he co-wrote this film with Barry Gifford, and at the time when they were writing it, the OJ trial was going on, and
This
Lynch
story just keeps
became
getting weirder and weirder.
no, it all makes sense. Trust me. Lynch was fascinated by this term that he called psychological fugue. So Fugue, that word fugue, I think it's pronounced.
Fugue? Is it not
Fugue,
fugue?
I
fugue maybe
I
fugue.
say fugue, but I don't know if it's like a English American thing.
Maybe I could just be wrong, yeah. But Lynch became kind of obsessed with this idea that O.J. Simpson could murder his ex-wife and then just walk around, go golfing with his buddies, and just live
Yeah.
life normal. So he became kind of enamored with this idea of psychological fugue, um, of how you can commit a heinous crime and how you would compartmentalize that in your brain and then go about and live your life. And he wanted to kind of express that in film. So for me, when I knowing that again, that's pretty much all it's Lynch. So that's like even that is a lot of an explanation. But with that kind of snippet that Lynch gave, that's kind of the key for me for the way I read this film, which is essentially Bill Pullman's character committing the heinous crime that we witness early enough in the film. And the rest of the film is this psychological fugue where he is compartmentalizing this crime and rationalizing it and making it like, I'm not saying what we see with Balthazar Getty in the second half of the film is an alternative universe or anything like that. It's just more of an escape for Bill Pullman's character to kind of rationalize this heinous crime that he's committed. This, entering into this stage of psychological fugue.
Like
So
OJ looking for his wife's killer, like he always claimed he was.
yeah, you know what I mean? So in this kind of alternative quote unquote world in his brain, he's this young guy, he gets all the girls, he's this fucking, he's virile, because obviously that was a big part early in the film where, he can't perform sexually and stuff like that. And there's that pivotal scene where she taps his back, to kind of say, it's all right, don't worry about it, it's all good. Which is like, fuck, that's like such a hard moment as a man. Um, so, in this world, he's Balthazar Getty, he's cool, he's handsome, he gets any chick he wants, he's a girl, he's a ladies' man. And Patricia Arquette in this world is a slut. She's a porn star. She's a hoe bag. She is a bad person. She whatever's coming to her, she deserves it. So that's the way he can rationalize his crime that he's committed. You know, all the things that he believed about his wife in this other world are true. And so in the end, whatever happened to her, fuck it, she deserved it. She was a slut. She was in with gangsters. She was whatever, this, that, and the other. And this all kind of comes crashing down then at the end of the film where you have that kind of final scene where, you know, electricity's going, he starts frothing. I think we can kind of guess what's happening in that moment in reality. Um, Given the context of where we last saw Bill Pullman's character prior to that, we can all kind of guess what's happening at the end. So like that's my reading of the film just based on the breadcrumbs that Lynch left, kind of talking about this inspiration of
See, this is
OJ.
why I didn't want to rewatch it because now I really want to go rewatch it after we talked about it. That's why I waited.
That's the thing. Like, and again, it's easy for me to kind of make these connections because I've seen the film so much. It's like with Mulholland Drive. Like Mulholland Drive for me is just like it's as easy as watching any film because I've seen it so much. So Lost Highway is similar in that regard as well. Like I remember not understanding anything when I first watched it, but now once you have the key, and I think you mentioned it, Zach, about having that key. Once you have the key, I think it does start to unlock the rest of it. Except for with Inland Empire, I don't know what the fuck happens in Inland Empire, and I've seen that film loads. I've seen that film a lot
You've
as
seen
well.
that movie loads. I saw it once and I was like,
Yeah, did I
I'm
ever
gonna
tell you this
rewatch it
story?
eventually. No, go for it.
So again, I owned Inland Empire on DVD, and me and my brother used to watch it and like have a notepad and just write down what was happening in each scene in hopes that we'd be able to connect the dots. And it then became a thing that when we had friends over, so when like he would have a friend over for a sleepover, as we shared a room. So whenever one of us had like a friend over for a sleepover, we'd like sit them down and make them watch Inland Empire so that we can get a fresh perspective on what was happening. We tortured so many people, making them watch Inland Empire, just like complete normies.
Yeah, come watch
Um,
this SOV film by David Lynch.
yeah. So I've seen Inland Empire loads just because of that. But I actively chose to watch Lost Highway lots because I enjoyed it. Just to touch on something else about Patricia Arquette is fantastic in this film. Her performance is amazing. Her physical performance. Bill Pullman is good. Balthazar Getty is good. I think they do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then I suppose we haven't talked about the mystery man. So Robert Blake, that's the name of his character, the mystery man. Just this just this pure Lynchian nightmare of a character. Just this weird dude with like a pale white face speaking in riddles, talking at you through phones, even though he's standing right in front of you, with a weird camera pointing at you.
Right.
Just a pure Lynchian nightmare of a character.
Yeah, he's like the cowboy man in Mulholland Drive, but somehow
Very
weirder.
much so.
Much
Yeah,
weirder.
very much so. Um, Again, like some people read him as like the devil, or like a manifestation of evil deeds or guilt or whatever. He's not, depending on how you want to read the film, he's not really a real person. Pretty sure the only person he ever interacts with is Bill Pullman / Balthazar Getty. I don't think he interacts with anyone else. So, a lot of people kind of see him as like a manifestation of the devil or just generally a manifestation of evil deeds. Or yeah, the evil deeds, I guess, best way to put it. So he's a really interesting character. I think the film looks great, especially the Criterion release. I'm so happy that came out because like my old DVD was shit. It was like an import from Europe and it looked like shit. So when Criterion released the new copy of it, I was so happy because it was such a good film and it really deserved a nice clean gloss.
Chris,
Just
remind me because I think I don't think you'll know Adam because it's a Kino thing. Didn't Kino have this and there was a
they
whole
did.
controversy around it? Like they released it and then Criterion maybe like released it like right afterwards or something. I feel like there was a whole thing
The
about it.
Criterion or Kino's one wasn't approved by Lynch was the difference, I think.
That may have been what it was. I remember it being a big thing, but I couldn't remember the details anymore.
Yeah, Criterion one was overseen by Lynch, whereas I don't think the Kino one was, and there was like some issues with special features and stuff as well, if I remember correctly from the controversy.
Mm.
Just another random tidbit for this film. The house that they live in with like the weird windows and shit, that's David Lynch's house.
That
Um,
doesn't surprise me even a little bit.
So there you go. There's just a little tidbit. And the whole videotapes thing as well. Was probably an inspiration for Cache. Is that? Yeah, Cache. The
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
who's that filmmaker
Michelle
again?
Haneke. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Haneke. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Probably an inspiration for that, I would guess.
Yeah. I mean, Hanukkah, I'm sure, would say that there's nobody that's inspired him. He just inspires himself. But
If he wants to lie, that's cool.
thematically, it probably. No, I don't know if that's fair. I like his movies, but he does come off as a little bit arrogant sometimes.
When I watch these movies, though, it makes me realize that too bad David Lynch was too old probably to really get into the ARG like era for like the 2000s and the 2010s and stuff. Dude would have killed it. He'd be making like creepypasta ARGs and shit if he was just like 30 years younger, and they would actually
I
been
want
good.
to, yeah, I want to see his YouTube series.
No, but like people joke about putting all of his weather reports on Criterion or something like that. But honestly, like this is the thing that I think I really love about David Lynch, and I hope it goes in his as people talk about him in his memory. Like I hope this comes out. The guy was an artist, and he also made movies. But
Oh, he was an artist foremost. Movies just became the easiest medium to express his art.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
and he said that himself. Like he wasn't a movie buff or anything. Like he liked a lot of Hitchcock movies because he watched them growing up.
yeah,
But like I read his biography this year after he died, and like he would never like he's not a film buff or anything like that. Like
no,
he was just an artist and not a single thing he did in his whole career, whether it's art, whether it's films, whether it's shorts, whether anything, not a single bit of it was insincere.
exactly.
It was all 100% unfiltered him, apart from Dune.
I like it. I don't think they're similar at all, but he's similar to John Waters to me in the way that they relay their experiences and the way they see the world in film in a very sincere way.
Yeah,
that's the only comparison.
that's absolutely not a bad comparison to make. Ironically, Mink Stole is in Lost Highway. Now that you mentioned John Waters,
Awesome.
but John Waters also did. There was a film that came out a couple of years ago called Lynch Oz,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and John Waters is in that as well. I'm pretty sure John Waters and Lynch were friends. Obviously, they were contemporaries.
Yeah, Waters is apparently just friends with like all the artsy guys because him and Herzog are also very close friends.
I need to be a fly on the wall for what they talk about.
My
But
favorite,
what the
this is a tangent, but like Herzog did not know for the longest time that Waters was gay. And I'm like, that's the funniest shit to me. Like Herzog is just all confused. John Waters being this very flamboyant, must be straight dude, just obviously.
Just hilarious. Yeah. No, but I think like that that era of like Fassbender and Waters and Lynch, like there's I can only imagine some of the conversations that went on in some of their parties. Because like Fassbender, that guy drank like that guy partied hard.
well, that's why he fucking died.
Well, yeah, that's true, especially with that. But that just would have been a really fun crew to be around. I like because none of those guys have it doesn't seem like they have any pretentiousness. Herzog would be the most, but even he's just grumpy and funny. Like he's not.
No, and
Yeah,
it's
he's just
actually
funny
quite
to listen
ironic
to.
because
Yeah.
you would assume that David, like to the outsider, you would assume David Lynch is pretentious. But I don't think his films are pretentious, and
No,
certainly
I
no, no, no.
as a man, he wasn't.
Well, and I think that's what make like I think a lot of filmmakers who want to go into like surrealism or something like that, I think they do have like a natural inclination to be a little pretentious. And I think what ultimately like why Lynch was able to make something like Twin Peaks a phenomenon and he was able to like do the things he did and people just normal people could like his stuff that weren't just super into films or anything is because he did come off as pretty down to earth. Like I don't think
Mm,
he was sitting there like, I'm going to make them solve this. He's like, this is just what it is. This is what I wanted to make. Take it as it is.
yep.
However you're going to take it, it's how you're going to take it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. He's. I think Adam, if I think about the directors that you love, I think there's an element of. I mean, Hitchcock is just kind of Hitchcock. Like he's one of the most interesting people for me because him and Kurosawa are two that probably balanced being like populist directors and also highly artistic, better than most people in history. You could maybe say the same thing about Spielberg in a way, but maybe John Ford. But there's only a handful of people I think that balance that as well as Hitchcock and Kurosawa did.
Hmm.
But then Bergman and Lynch, I think, are two misunderstood directors. I think looking at it from the outside, you would assume one thing about their movies, and actually going through them is a totally different experience.
Yeah, I think, and Zach can probably attest to that for Bergman.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like I dreaded Bergman like crazy because he's just put in that list of directors I have not that much interest in.
Yeah, this Mount Rushmore, it gets, or this like film school Mount Rushmore, it gets kind of confusing because somebody like Bergman would get lumped into Godard in the same sentence. People would say like, oh, the classics like Godard or and Bergman or whatever. But
And
like,
Antonioni, and they all famously fucking hated each other.
yeah, exactly. And they're all so different too. And so, anyways, I'm glad we're getting to go through.
Wait, Antonioni hated Goddard.
I think they all hated each other,
That's awesome.
and they
I
all hated
respect him more.
Wells, and Wells hated them all as well. They all
Well, Wells
fucking
hated
hated each
everybody,
other.
so that's normal.
They all
Here's
hated
some
each other.
there's some amazing quotes. I think it's from Bergman about how much like all these directors suck. Um,
Well, and then like Tervosky, we talked about him earlier. I think he hated more the Hollywood type thing, right? Like that was his whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
him and Kubrick had a bit of a tiff.
Oh, Stalker. Yeah, not Stalker. Solaris.
Solaris
Yeah.
and 2001. Yeah,
Yeah.
he hated how impersonal 2001 was. So
oh my God, sorry, on Jean-Luc Godard. In my eyes, he's an infinitely overrated filmmaker. I've never gotten anything out of his movies. They felt constructed, faux intellectual, and completely dead. Cinematographically uninteresting and infinitely boring.
Who said that?
This is Bergman on Godard.
Bergman has just like entered my top 10 if he wasn't there already. He is there.
Yeah. Yep.
Any final thoughts on Lost Highway before we kind of wrap up and talk about what we're going to do next?
Yeah. What's next, Zach?
If are we good, or we're good to move on? I don't have anything personally.
No, I'm glad you guys got something out of the movies.
Yeah, this was
Zach,
awesome.
I hope you'll get something out of Lost Highway next time you watch it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm debating. I was like, should I go ahead and rewatch it, or should I go pick up the 4K when it's on sale? But we'll see. It'll either be soon, or it'll be when I get the 4K. But yeah, so I'll move on to what we're talking about next week. So this is something I've kind of had planned to do for a little while. I think I came up with the idea maybe like in March of this year, but then obviously we did Mission Impossible and stuff like that, so it's been on the back burner. But I really wanted to do kind of an episode of, I guess, kind of a perspective of the films that made me like what I like. So I wanted to talk about some favorites from my parents and my sister, my older sister. So for my dad, we were almost going to watch Urban Cowboy because I swear that's my dad's favorite movie as many times as he's seen it. But ultimately, I thought it would be more interesting to go with another film that I remember he loved a lot, which was Vanishing Point, which is from 19.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it was highly influential to something like Death Proof. I actually think they mentioned the film in Death Proof once or twice. It's from 71, so um, that's a car movie. My dad's always into any type of car racing movie, so I thought that would be a good one. Very good dad film, I'm sure. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so I'll be right there with you guys, kind of re-experiencing it. My mom, who probably had like the biggest influence on me and movies I liked growing up, she was really into horror and westerns. Since we've probably talked about a lot of the horror stuff she liked at some point or something, wouldn't be too interesting to talk about. I thought we'd talk about her favorite film that she famously, like for 2 weeks straight, would walk into the movie theater when it opened, stay till it closed, and rewatch the one movie, which was The Outlaw Josie Wales.
Wow.
Maybe like the third or fourth movie Clint Eastwood ever directed. That's the longest one here, so sorry, Adam. That's I think that one's over 2 hours if I remember correctly. It's a pretty long one. And then for my sister, um, one I considered doing for her, and it was until like very late, was doing The Social Network because I know that's one of her favorite movies. But I thought just to add a little bit of variety, I would choose one of her other favorite films, which was Clueless from '95, because I do have an appreciation for some teen type movies. So I thought that would be kind of add a bit of variety to what we have.
Clueless is so good. I can't wait to rewatch it.
Awesome.
Banger movie.
What a triple feature.
Yeah. So yeah, we all like very different things. So I thought this would be a little bit fun to do.
This is a fun one.
Awesome. Cool. We'll wrap up there and we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks.
All right. See y'all.
Thanks all.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description.
If you're looking for more horror outside of the mainstream, look no further than Unsung Horrors, a podcast about underseen horror movies. I'm Lance.
And I'm Erica. Every other week, we'll cover a horror movie with fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. We'll even give you double feature recommendations to pair with the movies we discuss.
From gothic to shot on video, from slashers to comedies, from giallo to J-horror, we'll cover all the subgenres. So join us as we unearth these hidden gems of horror.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors, available wherever you listen to podcasts. And part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.